Kia ora koutou katoa, no mai hara mai ki UFC on Sky, ko Ravinda Hunia tōku ingoa. The UFC returns to Abu Dhabi this weekend for UFC 280, and while the whole card is star-studded, you can't go past those last three fights. One of those fighters on those three fights is Sean O'Malley, and he joins us now from Abu Dhabi. Kia ora, Sean, and welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you.
You're very welcome. By the way, kia ora means hello in Indigenous Māori here in New Zealand, so hello.
Well, yeah, I was wondering what that meant.
Look, you're there in Abu Dhabi now for fight week. How has it been since you landed on the ground?
Yeah, I've been here for like 10 days. Just feels like home now. It's funny how quick you can adapt to the other side of the world, so.
There for 10 days, roaming around, I'm sure. Have you been able to get to Etihad Arena yet to have a look where you'll be performing?
Yeah, I went there. There was a basketball game. The NBA was playing there, a preseason game we came to, and then we flew over in a helicopter, checked it out that way too. So yeah, we've been around.
Awesome. Look, this fight this weekend, very, very exciting for you. Arguably the biggest of your UFC career to date against Petr Yan. How do you prepare for someone like him?
Same way I've been preparing for fights the last 12 years. Training camp, eat good, sleep good, recover good. It's just another fight with a dangerous guy.
You're right. He is a very dangerous guy. He's ranked #1 at the moment too, which means if you get, the win here, it means great things for yourself. Talking about your style though, very unpredictable, very unorthodox. How do you see your strengths in comparison to his fight style?
Yeah, I think it's going to be primarily a striking battle if I had to guess, and I believe I'm just better than him. So he's just the most evolved of all of them, and so yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm excited, very confident, and ready to go out there and put his lights out.
It feels that way. It feels you're very calm and at peace at this fight that's coming up, despite, there is a lot of rigmarole and a lot of hype around it, you being ranked 12th and him being ranked 1. But how important is it for you, to keep your mind clear and to know that, you have that belief that you're a better fighter than him?
Yeah, it's important. I think it just comes the last 12 weeks is where that comes from. If I didn't train hard, if I didn't sleep good, if I didn't do what I needed to do, I'd be worried about this fight. I'd be nervous, but I've literally done everything I've needed to do leading into this fight. We just next fight's weigh-ins, and then we get to actually fight. So right now this week's all about the weigh-ins, cutting the weight, getting the weight down, and then the fun stuff. The fight's the fun part.
That's right. Look, talk to us about your journey and how this fight even came to fruition.
I beat up Pedro Munoz, and then they offered me Peter.
Simple as that.
Pretty easy. Yeah.
Look, another thing that I wanted to talk to you about is you appear, honestly, you're getting better with every fight. You're getting stronger, which is a natural evolution, but it also is quite impressive to watch you and what you're doing outside of the octagon in terms of this brand that you're building, the Sugar Show. So talk to us about this businessman that you're also evolving into as well as the fighter.
Yeah, it's funny. I guess I've kind of always been an entrepreneur since I was 16, 17 years old. Fights would come around, I'd start selling T-shirts, and that's pretty much where it started. I guess I didn't even think of it back then as something like that, but now it's, we got the Sugar Show brand, the merch line, brand deal, the Timex, Monster, Sanibel, Dr. Dabber, King Palm. So we're building, some really good relationships with the brands, and also building the Sugar Show brand itself.
How has that helped you in terms of your fan base? Obviously, you'd have perhaps two different types of fans because of the brand as well. But how much is this helping you in terms of your popularity in the UFC as well?
Yeah, I think, I make, a good amount of money outside the UFC and, inside the UFC. So it allows me to, really, really grow that fan base in a different than if I was just a UFC fighter. So it's been good.
thinking about success, obviously your business is quite successful at the moment, but this fight ahead of you, success here means a lot of things for the Sugar Show. It means, one of the biggest upsets from a rising star for a start in the UFC, and natural progression says a title fight. How does that sit with you?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I guess Dana came out yesterday or recently and said winner of this gets a title shot. But that was, for me, that was kind of, that went without, that was obvious to me. I go out there and beat Petr Yan. Of course they're going to give me the title shot. So I've been kind of knowing that since this fight got announced. So ready to go.
Does that mean you keep a closer eye on that co-main event between Aljamain and TJ Dillashaw?
Yeah, I mean, that realistically, that's probably who I fight next, the winner of that. So yeah, definitely going to keep an eye on that and watch closely.
And other, besides that would be the natural progression. Aljamain Sterling talking about taking on Alexander Volkanovski when he wins this title fight, which of course he believes he will. How does that sit with you? Because when a champion moves on to another division and tries to become a champ, they kind of halt the division they're already in.
Well, in that case, I'm like 14 times bigger than Aljamain Sterling, so UFC will pretty much, do whatever's going to benefit me, I would guess. Like, if he wanted to go up, they'd probably just give me the belt, so I'm not really worried about that.
It's true. Yeah, that's a fair comment to make. Back to Petr Yan, your opponent this weekend. His only losses have come by way of Aljamain Sterling. How closely have you looked at those losses that he's had against Sterling and perhaps used that in your prep for this fight?
Those losses against Aljamain, he got his back taken, and Aljo, held his back for quite a while, so really not too much to watch in that fight. The Corey Sandhagen fight against Peter we watched a little bit of. A lot of Peter's good stuff that he's done come against guys who are 5'5". So I'm just a completely different style, and I think I'm going to give him a lot of trouble.
He traditionally comes out quite slow in his fights too, but granted, you have mentioned that he fights, 5-round fights, but how important is it for you to perhaps come out of the block, seeing as it's a 3-round fight and he is used to those 5-round fights?
Yeah, it's definitely something to think about, but for me, I'm coming out there to, win the fight, not necessarily coming out there to try to outpoint him and try to win the round. I want to go out there and put his lights out, so that's what I'm going to be doing for 15 minutes.
Nice. Look, before I let you go, I wanted to ask you about something else, this lifestyle that I saw on the UFC vlog, on the UFC countdown. The rockstar life, you called it, driving Lamborghinis and buying properties and things. But I just wanted to ask you about that because I know there is more to it than just spending money. It's, A, it's your hard work paying off and you're able to buy these things, but B, supporting your family and showing that they can have this life as well. How has that aspect of it been for you?
Yeah, it's been nice making money doing this, being able to, like I said, I've been doing this for 12 years, so to be able to start making money now it's fun. The money game's it's a game, and I'm just, trying to be as smart as possible, buying properties, houses, and, investments, and then I accidentally bought a Lamborghini, so that happened, but yeah, I'm making sure I'm smart with my money and investments, and if I got a little extra on the side, maybe buy some fun things.
Yeah, and good on you. Look, Sean, it's been a pleasure to speak with you. All the very best for this weekend. And I know this won't be the last we see of you, but all the best in Abu Dhabi.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
And another fighter who has landed in the UAE is featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski. Now, as you will note, he's not slated to be fighting at UFC 280, but is on standby should main event services require him. He joins us now. Kia ora, Alex, and welcome back to the show.
How are you? It's always good to chat. Always good to chat.
Very, very interesting, your business over there in Abu Dhabi, Alexander Volkanovski. We've been watching carefully, and it feels like a few of the things that you have said on the past, especially on this show, are finally coming to fruition. You're talking about wanting to build legacy, and now you're on standby on one of the biggest cards of the year. How's it all going?
Yeah, it's going good. It's going good. Obviously, it's a weird situation, me not knowing if I am fighting and preparing for two guys and all that type of stuff. It's a funny sort of thing to prepare for. But if there's anyone that can do it, it's me. And again, I wanted to put myself in this position so no one else could take this opportunity away from me. And it's obviously worked. It's got a lot of people pumped up, a lot of people talking about it. and a lot of people agreeing with me, including the big boss Dana White, who says I'll be next anyway if I don't need to step in this weekend. So again, this is why I'm doing it, because I don't want to wait around. I want that lightweight title shot, and so I put myself in this position.
Talk about that preparation, because fighting, training and preparing for one guy is one thing, but for two is something very, very different. So how do you divide your time and ensure that if you are called in, that you are ready to go no matter who it is?
Yeah, man. Like again, if there's any fighter that can do this, it's me. To be honest, that's what I truly do believe. Like I can adjust on the fly if need be, but I still had a bit of time to prepare for this, and got wrestling coaches in just to be ready for the wrestling that Islam might have to do. And obviously, we know a bit about Charles, so we know each other's approach. And the beautiful thing about me as a fighter is, like, my teams and coaches have done such a great job of me understanding the knowledge that give me, where, whatever happens in front of me, I understand the movement, why they're doing it, and know how to sort of stop these things and to make things hard for certain things as well. So I am the complete package. I truly do believe that when it comes to mixed martial arts, and putting myself in this position. And if I need to step in, it would be good to prove that and show people that I wasn't lying when I said I could do this.
Yeah, that's right. And not all preparation is down to looking at your opponents, right? You're backing yourself and your abilities and imposing your will on them as well, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, again, my style definitely, as I always said, I probably said this to you before, that, covers a lot of ground. You know what I mean? My style is based to really make people fight my fight and things like that. Obviously, with someone like Islam and his wrestling, you're going to have to make sure your takedown defense and getting back to your feet and all that stuff's on point, so you can at least do that for 5 rounds if need be. But obviously, getting me down is going to be a hard task. But if so, I'll be ready. So there's going to be a little bit of certain specific training that I'm going to do for these guys. But in saying that, my style covers a lot of ground, and again, I prove that every time I step in the octagon, even in the lightweight division, I'll prove that again.
Should you not take to the octagon, and you are, sitting there by the octagon watching an Oliveira-Islam Makhachev fight, how do you see that going down? Because you mentioned that you have, taken notes on Oliveira in the past. You've mentioned his name a couple of times as wanting to fight him. Obviously, he was the title holder. But how much of that, watching that fight, will be homework for you?
Oh, it will be. It'll definitely be. I'll enjoy the show. I'll try not to just do too much study while I'm watching. That's just how my brain works. I'm going to obviously be taking reads as I'm watching it, but I'll enjoy it. And then whoever wins, I'll properly study, and my team, my coaches will properly study the opponents, and then obviously we'll worry about that then. But if I don't need to step in, I'll just enjoy the show. I'm over here, so it works out. It's locked me in as the next guy, and then I get to watch an incredible card as well. So it's a win-win situation for me, whether I step in or not.
The last time I spoke to you, you did say that you wanted that Charles Oliveira fight, obviously because he had the belt around his waist, and you were very confident that he would beat Gaethje, which he did. Do you have that same confidence with him against Islam Mahkachev?
No, I think this is going to be definitely a harder fight than Gaethje. Stylistically, just the way Islam approaches his wrestling and things like that is going to be a bit of a problem. The fact that he won't take unnecessary risks like Charles' past 3 opponents, he's not going to just stand in front of you and swing and give you a chance to hit him. He's going to approach it a bit different. He's going to have a safe net for everything he does, a defensive look and structure around how he approaches this fight. And I'm going to just try and grab a leg, clinch up however he can, and bring him down. That's how I feel. And I feel like he might have a bit of success there. But Charles is so dangerous in submissions and obviously jiu-jitsu and on the feet. Obviously, he's going to be aware of the takedowns. He's going to be, he's even good in the clinch. He got some good knees and things like that. So he's definitely a big threat for Islam. But I think Islam's a big threat for Charles as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But we'll see Saturday night.
It's a great clash of styles, isn't it? In terms of Islam Makhachev and what he's bringing, I mean, it's more than just his abilities that he's bringing, isn't it? I kind of feel like, just looking from all the output that's coming out in terms of content, a lot of it has to do with Khabib and carrying on this legacy of what Khabib left in the division. What's the feel like on the ground? Is it more about the Khabib legacy than it is about the Islam Makhachev and what, path he's paving for himself?
Man, I don't think so. I know what you mean. Obviously, a lot of people, Khabib's a big draw and a big name, and his name's going to get thrown around all the time. But you'll be lying if you said they're similar. Their styles aren't similar. You know what I mean? They've been training with each other for how long? Even the way they both approach the striking in the same sense of, our striking's based around how do I grab a hold of this guy? You know what I mean? That's pretty much it. And they're not embarrassed to say that or talk about that. They're not out here to, I'm going to have to knock this guy out on the feet. They don't care about that. They'll grab a hold of you, bring you down, and want to punch your head through the canvas, right? That's and they're happy with that. They love their wrestling, and look at Khabib. He's a massive star. So they don't think they need to take unnecessary risks, and that's why I think Islam's a different type of threat for Charles than Charles' past opponents.
Who do you see taking out this fight? Alexander Volkanovski, who do you think you might be facing to become champ in future?
To be honest, I think if I had to lean towards someone, it would be Islam. I think again, I think it's going to probably maybe a later round submission or decision. But again, this isn't no disrespect to Charles. Charles is a great champion, a great fighter, and he could definitely win this. But I just think, Islam's going to take this fight very serious and approach it the right way and try not to take too much risk and just, fight his fight. And I think it will go his way. But again, with someone like Charles, it could end like that.
Yeah. Every time I've asked you for a prediction, Volkanovski, you have been correct. So I'm taking your word on that. Something else I wanted to talk to you about. You were a part of the announcement of UFC 284 going to Perth, Australia. You were on stage with the crew to say that finally the promotion is coming back to this side of the planet. What was that experience like, and how relieved are you to know that the UFC will be returning to Australia?
Oh, man, it was good to know I was locked in and help with the promotion. Obviously, it was mid-camp, so, flying over to Perth to do the
not ideal.
Obligation sometimes it's not ideal, but in saying that, it's, I think, I have to help with that and be the face of that, because I want to be obviously the main event on that card and help build it up and get the fans pumped up and ready. And I can't wait to, see what happens here and see if I'm facing the winner of this weekend in Perth. How good would that be? That'll be absolutely massive, and the Australian fans deserve it, and the New Zealand fans. That side of the world definitely deserves a big card over there, and can't wait.
Yeah, it's a huge draw card. If you were to get the winner of this fight and you're fighting in Australia, what a way to return back to Australia, right? That would be absolutely great. Look, in terms of the Australian MMA, New Zealand MMA in this time that the promotion hasn't been down here, talk to us about the growth of the sport, because I feel like it has gone to another level, especially with our fighters being forced to go abroad and take on fights wherever they kind of can to get fights, right, in the travel conditions they've had.
Yeah, it's definitely been massive. I think the last couple of years was huge for the UFC. They did some very clever things. And that obviously made it bigger for the UFC and bigger for Australia, especially when you got some of the competitors, the fighters from Australia and New Zealand doing what they're doing. It's not like we're just a couple of guys, just getting in there. We are winning and winning big, and we are taking ranks, titles, and doing some big things in this sport, which is it's a massive sport. So people are really starting to take notice and jump on board.
That's right. Great points you make there. Have indeed taking all the titles. Look, before I let you go, your predictions for Sterling TJ Dillashaw and O'Malley Petr Yan.
Yeah, TJ Dillashaw and Aljamain, I'm going to lean towards Jay. I think he's obviously he's a veteran. He's very, very well rounded. I think he can handle Aljamain's wrestling and grappling, and I think him on the feet is going to be a little too much. So I'm going to lean towards TJ on that. Sean O'Malley and Petr Yan. Again, Petr Yan's my guy, but I mean this is interesting fight because it's a 3-rounder. That's what people got to really remember. Sean O'Malley moves well. Petr Yan's usually a slow starter, but I'm still backing my boy Petr Yan. I think again he's just such a good fighter. He's so good. He just needs to let his hands go a little bit earlier. I think he's the type of fighter that could do that as well. He can literally start fast and go for it from the get-go, and he won't take too much damage because he's so defensively sound anyway. And then if he does that, I think it would be reasonably easy for him. But the fact that it's a 3-rounder and he's usually a slow starter, that makes this a little more interesting.
Exactly. I agree with you there, and I will be taking notes of those picks also. More for selfish reasons, I asked you that question. But always a pleasure, Alex, for joining us on the show. All the very best for the weekend. Whether we see you performing or not, I'm sure we'll see you on the tally nonetheless. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you.
Whānau, UFC 280 will be coming to you live and direct from Etihad Arena in Abu Dhabi this Sunday. It is an early start. The prelims start from 5 a.m. New Zealand time. You can catch those on Prime. The main card will, of course, be starting on Sky Arena from 7 a.m. So get booking now to catch Sean O'Malley versus Petr Yan in the bantamweight division, followed by the championship match between current bantamweight champion Aljamain Sterling and TJ Dillashaw. Then the main event of the morning will be Charles Oliveira looking to reclaim the lightweight title up against Islam Mahkachev. Do not miss it. It's the second to last pay-per-view of the year. You do not want to miss it. Mā te wā.